Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome to today's episode of How Somebody Else is About to Get Fucked, and I can't wait to help facilitate it happening. I'm your host, Louis Rossman, and today I'm going to be following up on Bambu Labs and somebody who's taken up a case against them, the Software Freedom Conservancy, and I wanted to read some of their posts and just say how excited I am to see that somebody is going after them. Bambu Lab, for those of you who are seeing this video for the first time, they make 3D printers. They're kind of like the Apple of 3D printers. If you don't understand how 3D printing works and how to tweak every single variable so your prints come out right, they're the type of printer that would be for you if you're a beginner. And they marketed to that segment, and they made a decent product for that segment for a certain period of time. However, like many companies that try to make it easier, that try to bring you into their ecosystem and show you how much friendlier it is when you're doing things our way, we're going to help you, we're going to make it easy, they also start closing down their ecosystem and limiting it over time. And that's what they did last year. I did a video on their authorization control system that they added to their system after the sale. A firmware update went out to these printers, and after that firmware update went out, if you wanted to use certain third-party tools, you would have to go through their authorization control system. That did not exist before, and this pissed off a lot of people. Some people that it pissed off decided that they were going to come up with code that allows them to get around this limitation that Bambu Labs decided to add in after the sale of the printer to the customer. Because they are using AGPL open source code, this is an easy thing to do. Bambu Labs and Bambu Studios code is posted to their own GitHub. You can read it, you can fork it, you can do what you want with it. So a developer named Pavel decided to fork this code and modify it so that you could use it without dealing with the authorization control scheme that they added in after you purchased the product. In response, Bambu Lab sends the developer a message saying, by the way, check out section 1201 of the DMCA, which is a law that implies that if you have broken a digital lock for the purpose of getting access to a protected work, that you can go to federal prison for 3 to 5 years, which is not a very nice message. And they said, if he disagreed, please let us know so that we can send you our legal notice. The developer took the code down, and after he took the code down, I decided to put it back up. I put it back up on this page, and I said, if you want to sue me, if you want to try to take me to court, if you want to try to get me in jail, have fun. And this code has been now forked 4,500 times. With all the attention that this has been getting, some other people have been taking note of it. And one of them is the Software Freedom Conservancy. The Software Freedom Conservancy decided to take a look into this, and I'm very happy and excited to see that they've done so. And they put out this news post today that I am very, very happy to see. This news post, the absolute TLDR of this is they're doing a couple of things that Powell even wanted us doing. Powell said, I did not reverse engineer your code. All I did is I just like Control-C, Control-V. I used this portion of your code over here because it's open source to create my fork. That's it. I did not reverse engineer anything. Now, I understand where Powell was coming from, and I understand that he didn't do any reverse engineering. But in that discussion, the way that reverse engineering was approached was as if reverse engineering is a bad thing. I don't think reverse engineering is a bad thing at all. Reverse engineering is why you have a choice between Intel and AMD instead of just Intel being a monopoly. Reverse engineering is just fine. You're figuring out how something works so you can make something on your own. That's great. They're saying that that's what they're actually going to do. So Powell was saying, no, I didn't reverse engineer your stuff. Please don't get me in trouble. And SFC is doing the opposite. They're actually putting up everything and saying they are going to reverse engineer their networking plugin so that there's an open source version available that you can use. And if you are able to use this, then you can kind of get around this authorization control scheme for good, which I think is great. Here's what SFC is doing. Bambu Labs has behaved badly for years and made multiple provably false public statements regarding the AGPL3 license and its requirements. The recent aggressive behavior toward Powell was the last straw for us. We've decided to launch a multi-pronged effort that will assist consumers and users in the short term and also work towards a long-term strategy to improve the software right to repair for all 3D printer consumers. Software Freedom Conservancy launches today our Baltobu project. This project contains repositories as follows. Baltobu's reverse networking repository hosts a project to reverse engineer libbambu networking, Bambu networking, and libbambunetworking.dylib. We have also encouraged volunteers in the user source community to participate in the process. As we have previously explained, object code combined with AGPL v3 software must be licensed under AGPL v3. As such, these object code libraries are governed by the AGPL v3. Software Freedom Conservancy and our volunteers are within our rights to reverse engineer these libraries for the purpose of creating our own source code that can function as a drop-in replacement in Bambu Studio. If Bambu Studio were not known to be a strident long-time AGPL v3 violator, we would not begin with this approach. But we believe the reverse engineering effort will yield results more quickly than legal action possibly can. So if they were to take Bambu to court, you could be in court very easily for 5 to 6 years before you even get a decision made, much less whether you win. If you take a look at the Vizio case that's been going on right now, and this is not the fault of SFC or anybody else, it's just the way the legal system works in the United States. Things just get slow when you're going to the court system. Here, instead of going to the court system, you could probably get the source code that you want to be able to get around all these limitations quicker by just having the community come together and reverse engineer it. And the same way that Powell did not want to rehost his code, so I said, fine, fuck you, I'll rehost your code first. Software Freedom Conservancy is doing something similar here, where other people may say, okay, I'll rehost the code, but I'm not going to reverse engineer it. They're just coming out and saying, we want to reverse engineer it. We intend to reverse engineer it. Like, come at me, bro. This is my public URL. I think that's absolutely great. And I hope the people in my comments that are hardcore programmers are happy to join them in this process. And I hope you realize at this point, it's not just some random fuckface YouTuber that you have the backing of if Bambu goes after you. It's also the Software Freedom Conservancy. So that you're really growing the group of people who are willing to defend people who reverse engineer this software so that you can get back access to what you had before Bambu Labs put together this bullshit authorization system. B. Baltobu's Orca Slicer for Bambu repository will build upon Powell's work to become the canonical repository for maintaining and improving the Orca Slicer fork that Powell originally published. Software Freedom Conservancy does not fear Bambu's aggression. We welcome volunteers to join us in maintaining an Orca Studio fork that works with Bambu 3D printers. Volunteer contributors working on SFC's behalf have some amount of personal liability protection, and SFC does our best to insert ourselves should Bambu make legal threats to any of our volunteers. C. Baltobu's Viscose repository seeks to maintain an active fork of Bambu Studio itself. This project will seek to take the best of any discoveries from the two aforementioned initiatives and work towards a replacement for Bambu Studio that works better for consumers who own Bambu 3D printers. 2. SFC will continue as a watchdog for any further Bambu Lab violations. Our staff spent the last week investigating the violations discussed here, but we will not stop there. We normally do not actively look for violations. However, in this case, SFC will watch Bambu Lab closely and continue to investigate, regularly looking for any potential violations of copyleft licenses. 3. SFC will launch a standing committee to discuss software freedom and rights in the 3D printer community. Details in this committee will be forthcoming in June 2026. Generally speaking, this community will bring together 3D printer manufacturers, users, consumers, copyleft licensing experts, and software freedom activists to meet monthly to communicate about any new issues or concerns that arise regarding the software right to repair for 3D printers and accompanying software, and to make action plans to address those issues. Volunteers can help now. The SFC welcomes volunteers to join these efforts immediately. We will need your help. We specifically welcome as our first volunteer Powell himself. Powell's work has been instrumental in investigating Bambu's various AGPL3 violations. Powell has agreed to collaborate with SFC on the efforts we begin today. If you would like to also help with any of the technical work going on in our Baltobu project, please follow this link for information on how to request an account on our Forge.go instance. If you are interested in helping in any other initiatives above, please email us at 3dprint@sfconservancy.org. Donate now to support our right to repair efforts. We will also today announce a fundraiser with a target goal of $250,007. This fundraiser will last for 2 months. All newly initiated sustainer contributions and general donations to SFC will be earmarked for our software right to repair efforts. If we reach our ambitious fundraising goal, we'll immediately begin a search to hire additional staff to lead the long-term efforts described herein, including coordination of volunteer contributors, strategic planning to improve the software right to repair for 3D printers, and planning whatever next steps are needed if our strategies outlined herein are unsuccessful in gaining AGPL v3 compliance by Bambu Lab. If we don't reach our goal, we will route the funds to A, fund existing staff's time to focus on this project, and B, work on our related software right to repair efforts. Thanks to everybody else who has already helped in this matter. We also thank Benz Now, who has done substantial additional research about the situation with Bambu Lab and has been a voice for AGPL v3 for more than a year regarding the dynamically linked libraries violation. And thanks to Fuller for taking a stand and drawing attention to this issue. This is great. I love to see it. Absolutely love to see it happen. A few weeks ago, we were at the point where the developer had gone weeks with his plugin being down and nobody gave a shit. Thanks to all of you fucks on my YouTube channel. Thanks to every single one of you that just decided, I'm not going to let the bad guy win. I'm just going to take the code and hit fork. All 4,500 of you, it's getting noticed by more and more people. And now it's noticed by people that have a pretty damn good track record of taking these cases on and either reverse engineering the software to make it available to everybody, or, in my opinion, I'm not going to speak for SFC, legally fucking in the ass to companies that take part in these practices. Great. Congratulations. You all did a great job. If you want to support their work, I'll leave a link down below. When you go to sfconservancy.org, I will leave a link. You will see a fundraiser. If you hover over the fundraiser and you click the button, you will see that you can click the button. I will be contacting for wire transfer details because I'd like to throw a few thousand into the pot. We're going to put a few thousand in. I hope to see other people donate as well. And here's the thing that I understand about these types of organizations. There's a lot of organizations like this that do work that never get noticed. There's a bunch of people that get noticed on a regular basis and get credit for shit. But this specific type of content cop, you have to understand, is a unicorn. So you have to have people that have a certain level of legal knowledge, that also have a certain level of programming knowledge, that also, once they have that level of legal and programming knowledge, are willing to enforce free open source licenses rather than make hundreds of thousands of dollars every few months, fucking you blind the way, let's be real, many corporate lawyers do. So the people that have the knowledge and the skill set to do this very rarely choose to spend it in this way. This is a unicorn, and they do a lot of work that you probably have no idea about. They've done work that you probably have never heard of. And you need people like this to do this type of shit. The same way that we need people like you to be willing to be that first person that throws the spear so that everybody else gets involved. So if you like what they're doing and you want to see more of it, if you're a great programmer and you have some time on your hands, check this out. If you're somebody with too much money on your hands, well, also check it out. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. And Bambu Lab, if you're watching, I know that you're never going to get this through your head, but all you had to do is not be a dick to your customers. That was it. Like, it was a very small number of people that used this system, and an even smaller number of people that cared about the authorization control system stuff. I would venture to guess like 99% of the users of your product are just using it through the default scheme anyway. All you had to do was not be a dick to that 1% of users, and you wouldn't have to be dealing with any of this. But you can't help yourself. I don't understand I really don't get it when it comes to companies that do this, but they just have to take something that's working really well and they just have to fuck with it. They just gotta poke. And then it becomes well, I was told I'm not supposed to poke, so I want to poke just because you told me I'm not supposed to poke. And then you get somebody at the company that just keeps doubling and tripling and quadrupling down a bad decision. All you had to do is not be a dick. That was it. But you do you. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.
We also have the duty not to infringe the IP rights in the process. It is in fact the manufacturers who have the relevant rights, not consumers.